Hello, magic casters of all shapes and sizes. My name is Chance, welcome to my Spellbook, and thank you so much for tuning into another very special episode of our Homebrew Spells series. Today we're going to be taking a look at Summon a Guy. This is a level 1 spell, and it is created by the one and only Runesmith. This is the second episode in a 10-part series breaking down his 10 homebrew spells. I'll leave a link to both his channel and the spell on DnD Beyond, as well as the video this spell is found in, down in the description. And I must take a moment to thank Flying Doom Bunny as well for adapting this spell on D&D Beyond, which made my job a lot easier. So thank you so much, Flying Doom Bunny. I really do appreciate your contribution as well. Summon a Guy is a pretty interesting spell, and there's a couple very interesting alternative uses for this. Whether or not I'd let my game, I'll get into that a little bit later, but for the moment, let's check out its mechanics. Your cast time is going to be 1 action, and it can be ritual casted for an additional 10 minutes. Your range is 60 feet, and the duration is 1 hour, and sadly it is a concentration spell, so bear that in mind. The effect at a glance is as followed. Summon a random NPC from the material plane within range, and the NPC is chosen by the DM. The NPC is friendly and does as you command, so long as your commands do not put their life in danger and you maintain concentration. They will also not fight unless attacked. The NPCs disappear after being reduced to 0 hit points or when the spell ends. After losing concentration, the NPC becomes panicked, falling prone and crying, or attempting to flee. The components are material and verbal, meaning that the material component in this case is an edible item, salted meat, bread, or ideally a sandwich, which is consumed by the NPC upon their arrival, and the verbal component means you have to speak forth an incantation. The school is Conjuration, which makes logical sense. Now let's move on to the full description so we can flesh this out a little bit better. You summon a commoner in an unoccupied space you choose within range. Where you summon the guy is completely random and determined by the DM. If the guy drops to 0 hit points outside the material plane, it disappears and returns home, otherwise it crumbles to dust. The guy is friendly to you and your companions, but will not fight unless attacked. He will obey your commands unless they blatantly put its life in danger, and will answer any questions about his personal life. If you lose concentration, he does not disappear. Instead, you lose control and he enters a panic attack. If you cannot console him, he will sob or attempt to flee until killed or the hour ends. Very interesting stuff. Very, very cool stuff. Needless to say, just via the fact that it's homebrew means this is open to a lot of interpretation. In Logan's version, aka Runesmith's version, he mentions that it's just a random NPC, not necessarily a commoner. However, Flying Doom Monkey mentioned commoner, so it's a pretty safe stat block to stick with. If you are sticking with the commoner stat block, I have 0 problem with this being a level 1 spell. It makes sense, it's not particularly good or overwhelming. There are uses for it, and I will get into that in a little bit, but if it's a completely random NPC and there's the potential of something a fairly either important individual or fairly strong individual, then I would definitely have to raise this level by at least a little bit. So, let me know what you think down in the comments. Naturally, I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say about this, but while you're doing that, let's move on to some alternative uses here. So there's a couple I could think of off the top of my head. Naturally, these are going to heavily hinge on the DM and how creative you are as an individual and just the circumstances at hand. So the first would be using the NPC as a way to gain exposition or information about the world, the quest you're on, something along those lines. You could also use the NPC as a way to learn about a particular area of the world where they're from. Since they're from a random point, it makes sense that they'd have information about that location that you do not have, and you could potentially work that into some plans of yours a little bit later down the line. Alternatively to both of those, and this is a far more practical use for them, I just use them to keep guard or watch over your things or alert you if something else is lurking in the shadows. This is a great use for them, especially if you are a warlock, for example, that doesn't necessarily need to sleep, or warforged or something of those natures, and you can maintain that concentration. It's just a good way to spend a short rest and potentially have someone else watching your back. Outside of those, I guess, if you're a real jerk, you could potentially use them as a meat shield, maybe, but for the most part, I think exposition and information would be the best use for this spell. Fantastic! With that out of the way, if you have any ideas, alternative uses, or stories about Summon a Guy, please put it down beneath in the comments section. I really appreciate hearing what you guys have to say. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank our patrons as well: Marcos G. Guzman Jr., Arena, Tanner Frazier, Kenny Garcia, Bruce T, Tato Seal, and Spider-Man and his amazing friends. Thank you so much, guys, for the support. It means an absolute ton to me. We also do the daily live streams every day from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Sometimes life gets in the way and I'm unable to do them. If that's the case, I always make sure to update my communities tab, so just check there if I'm running late and you're not too sure if we're doing one today. Also, if you like that cool hand-drawn Dragonborn and you'd like your own D&D character drawn up and sent to you, please check out our Patreon videos to figure out exactly how to do that. And I also want to wrap this up by thanking RuneSmith once again for giving me permission to make these videos. It's super great, Logan. I appreciate it more than you could ever know, and it's just one more way I can use this channel to help out the greater viewing audience in the D&D space. So thank you so much for giving me that opportunity, and thank you as well, Flying Doom Bunny, for making my job a little bit easier. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. That being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, happy casting, everyone.